Good afternoon. This is Lisa Girardi with the Chicago Dental Society, and I want to thank you all for joining us today for this webinar and to get back into in-person trade shows, especially Midwinter meeting in February. I want to give you some updates as to what Midwinter meeting will look like come February 2022. The state of Illinois and the city of Chicago are in phase 5, meaning no social distancing or restrictions as to how many people can be in an enclosed room. We, however, want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. So we have created two main wide aisles, and our cross aisles are 20 feet. Otherwise, there'll be exhibit spaces next to one another as we did in pre-COVID times. We will be carpeting the exhibit floor, and we will be moving forward with that. We are mandating, however, that masks be worn inside. And we want to show you that we will be having more hand sanitizer stations throughout McCormick Place, more cleaning and disinfecting throughout the facility. In sessions, there is a 30-minute deep clean between sessions just to make sure that everyone is comfortable. At this time, we are not mandating or requiring proof of vaccination. We do encourage that everyone be vaccinated. We encourage exhibitors to have hand sanitizers at their booth. So just to, if someone feels comfortable, that's a good way to make them know that we all care about each other's safety, and frequently clean the high touch surface areas. We'll be doing that throughout McCormick Place in the West Building. If you have any questions about what McCormick Place is doing, there is a link below. It's also included in the service kit, which is now posted to the exhibitor information section on our website. What we will be doing to make it feel more like a Midwinter meeting, we will, other than the items that I just mentioned to make you feel safe, we will be having 3 days of exhibits. Please keep in mind that we did change the hours, the schedule of our exhibit hall. Thursday, the first day of the meeting, the exhibits run 9 a.m. to 5:30. Friday, it is 10 a.m. to 6:30, and Saturday, it is 9 a.m. until 3. That's a shorter time on Saturday from the last 2020 in-person meeting. On Friday, the 25th of February, we are hosting or promoting a Brews and Bargains event. This will be on the exhibit floor. All registrants are invited to participate. We will be sending an email to all of our registered exhibitors to ask them to participate in this program, offer whatever bargain you feel comfortable with. If you complete the application that we'll be sending out later on today, we will promote it in our mobile app, in our virtual trade show bag, on our social media channels, and in our on-site materials. We, CDS, will be providing complimentary beer on the exhibit floor during those 2 hours, and we have modified the menu service that you as an exhibitor can now order food and beverage, snacks and beverages that you can provide to attendees during those 2 hours on Friday. So we hope you participate, and I think it'll be a blast. I want to now introduce you to our resident trade show expert, Jefferson Davis. He has been working with Chicago Dental Society since 2016. So please welcome Jefferson, and he will take this show away.
All right, thank you, Lisa. How many of you on this webinar today are excited to get back to live trade shows? Go to your question and give me a yes or a woo-woo, or let's do this, or I can't wait. Go ahead and do that now. I will tell you that since June, I have been at 5 live shows, and I think you're in for an exciting experience. The energy in the exhibit halls, the excitement to come out of the darkness, if you will, and back into the light and gather together as a community and share ideas and learn and do business blew me away. I've been in Chicago twice over the last 7 weeks for shows, and things felt pretty much business as usual. I know there's been, concern, you'll maybe hear on the mainstream media about crime and this and that, but to me, at least, around McCormick Place and, the Magnificent Mile and Ohio Street, all the places where I've gone and stayed, it's pretty much business as usual. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. So if you're overly concerned about that, I'm not sure that you need to be that much, right? It's great to be back here with you. As you know, 30 years, my goal has been to help you exhibitors make sure that every dollar and every hour that you invest in exhibiting is delivering value and results for your company. And I'm really process-based. I'm going to introduce you today to the exhibit marketing process, which I worked on in the fourth quarter of last year. Essentially took my whole 30 years, the hundreds of exhibiting clients I've worked with directly, the $800 million in combined results that we've generated from shows, and really stood off and looked at what did we do and how did we do it and why did we do it and how do we organize this into a process that is replicable and scalable for any type exhibitor, whether you're in a 10 by 10 or whether you're in a 100 by 100, whether you're marketing a physical product or whether you're marketing services. So I think you'll find that to be a new, exciting addition to our curriculum. So we got a lot to cover here today. So let's get jumping in. I want to share some breaking research that just came out here at the end of August on the safety of attending live business events. Now, this was contracted by Freeman, who is one of the largest stakeholders in the live event industry, through a company called Epistemics, which is a medical healthcare research and modeling organization. And if you have a boss, owner, partner, manager that is, concerned about the safety and gathering at live business events, I think this information is going to be priceless for you to know and share. So the high level finding from the executive summary was that in-person business events can happen safely throughout the fall, right? Despite the Delta variant, and if there's a seasonal increase in COVID cases, that they can happen safely. They're already happening safely. That because one of the big reasons is that the participants at the average live event have a vaccination rate of 80% plus, and it's climbing. And so this helps reduce the transmissibility of COVID-19 at business events like we produce. And what makes our events unique is they're somewhat of a self-contained bubble, meaning that you have to register. It's being held in a private place like McCormick Place. There are set times to enter, set times to exit. There's security. And even though we're in the city of Chicago, we're somewhat separate with the exception of the hotels and the restaurants. And so the research found that the live in-person business event is having little to no impact on community spread of COVID and vice versa. What's happening in the community does not appear to be impacting business live events. So this is really good news, I think, for all of us who, are obviously the concerns are still out there about the pandemic. The fourth takeaway from this big study was because of the different risk mitigation tools that are being used, like testing. The first show I went to in June, when you entered the hall, you had to have your temperature checked each day. They put like a wristband on you. The vaccination rate, the wearing of masks, the social distancing, and the enhanced cleaning are contributing to a much safer environment for us to all be in. And the fifth finding was that over 90% of people that are attending the live events are not opposed. So they're not turned away because of these additional health and safety protocols. And obviously anybody who has issues with, masks or, the vaccination or any of this, for the most part, tends to not come, stay home. So that even, reduces the risk more. And the final finding was that, coupled with everything we've talked about here, that in attending an in-person business event is no riskier, according to this research. In fact, it may even be less riskier than things like going to the grocery store and the other essential daily activities that we take. So this is really good news. They looked at many shows that have happened already. They did contact tracing, and they found out that there's very little transmission rate happening at live business events. So that would raise me to a poll. I want to ask you out of the gate right now, when you look at, now I don't know if you've exhibited recently, maybe you were at the ADA meeting in Vegas, I don't know if you've exhibited at a live event yet at all, but I want to ask you, when it comes to exhibiting at a live event, what is, at this point in time, what is your biggest concern? What are you most worried about when it comes to getting back to live exhibitions? Fastest fingers, there are 5 options. Number 1, is it safe to travel? Number 2, is it safe to gather in crowds? Number 3, what if attendance is down, right? Potentially reduced attendance. Number 4, cost justification, return on investment. Maybe your business, like mine, right, has been dramatically impacted, in terms of customers and revenue. And maybe you got to be able to really justify the spend, and you got to make sure that you can get a return on your investment. Or maybe it's something else, right? Maybe there's something I didn't list here. And if it is something else, please go click on your question tab, type whatever else might be on your mind, and send that over to me. Just trying to get a handle on what your concerns are. So as we work through our content today here, I can really put the emphasis on what you as a group want and need. So about 60% of you have polled. If you haven't done so yet, please do so now. I'm going to give you just another few seconds. I would like to get this poll up to 80%, the 80-20 rule. So those of you who haven't polled yet, if you're looking away, if you're looking at your phone, or you're sending an email, if you'll pause, take a look at your screen, go ahead, fastest fingers right now. I'll count us down on 3, on 2, on 1. Last chance, we're at 80%. Thank you so very much. I'm going to share the results. I think it'll be interesting for Lisa at CDS to see, and I think it'll be interesting for all of you to see. So the number 1 concern with this audience is cost justification. It's making sure that you can justify the time and money, and making sure that you're positioned to get a return on investment. You're in the right place. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that today. The second concern was, how do you deal with potentially reduced attendance? We're going to talk about some of that today too, and I'm going to point you to additional resources. And then next in line was safety gathering in crowds, which I just shared some research, and safety to travel. I'll share some research about traveling and safety too in a moment. So thank you so very much for sharing. Hopefully you have your workbook, you have your pen, because we're going to cover a lot of content here, okay? All right. So let's talk, let me build upon, Lisa really talked to you about the city of Chicago. She talked about McCormick Place, and she talked about some of the things that CDS is doing, from a health and safety. What I want to share with you before we go any further is some considerations for your individual exhibit, right? Some things that you might want to be thinking about as you're planning exhibiting, what will hopefully be in the back end of this pandemic by February, right? Number 1, top of the list, crowds, right? Pay careful attention to the number of booth staff you have. If there was ever a year not to overstaff it, this would be the year, right? Now, don't understaff it either. You know, like if you're in a small booth, 10 by 10 booth, you should have 2 booth staffers. If you have one, you're potentially going to miss a lot of opportunities. The staffing rule of thumb is 50 square feet per staffer. Write that down, 50 square feet. Now, for those of you in larger booths, you're going to want to work with 50 square feet of open space. That means take your footprint and block off your exhibit property, your furnishings, your equipment, and only use your open space when you apply that 50 square feet per staffer rule. I would steer clear of crowd gathering techniques. You know, we'll go to shows and we'll see the magician on the end of the booth doing card tricks to attract people. Live theaters and learning is an important part of the dental professional experience. So I think having a theater presentations in your booth is not a bad thing. But again, you know, I would avoid the lines that wrap around the booth, and I would probably have a little more space in the way I design my theater in the booth. And in general, when someone looks at your booth, you know, if they're cautious, you want that booth to feel a little more open. You don't want it to feel overcrowded with stuff, and you don't want to feel overcrowded with people, right? Number 2 is masks. Like we said, masks are required indoor. Hey, nobody likes wearing them. None of us do. That's a fact, right? But the reality is, I mean, if that's what we got to do to keep ourselves and one another safe, you know, then that's what we have to do until we get past this. When it comes to distancing, I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but pay close attention to people's preference for space and engagement. People's body language tells you a lot, right? So if you're standing in your booth and you see a dental professional slowly approach the booth and then they kind of drift away from you and toward your display, they're sending you those nonverbal signals that I'm not comfortable getting a close engagement. So you're going to want to really brief your staff. And we have some new articles up, by the way, which I'll talk toward the end of the webinar on the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center. I wrote some new articles on preparing your staff for interacting in a hopefully late pandemic environment. But just know that people are all over the place in terms of their fear and their comfort, and they'll give you nonverbal signals. And so you'll be able to gauge, you know, I would not quickly approach people. I would be a little more passive than in the past, just until we get through this pandemic. Number 3, sanitation. Lisa mentioned that, you know, there will be hand sanitizer all around McCormick Place, but it's a really good idea to have it in your booth for your staff. It also, as Lisa said, it's really sending that nonverbal message that, hey, you know what, we care, right? We care. I apologize. The poll was still up, so let me bring my slides up here, what I've been talking about since the poll. Crowds, masks, social distancing, and exhibit sanitation. Think about what are your high-touch surfaces, what areas of your booth will attendees and your staff be touching a lot. Have some form of a protocol to clean those often. And in the larger booths, in some of the shows we've been at so far, we've seen signage, you know, explaining here's what we've done to keep you safe in our booth. So exhibit sanitation, have that sanitizer, you know, clean your booth often, consider letting people know visually what you're doing. And the final part is touch-free interactions. I think in general, reducing the number of touch points, instead of having the physical literature that you're handing out, maybe going to QR codes and having digital literature. If you're going to be giving away samples or any forms of tchotchkes or giveaways, you'll probably want to have those packaged in, you know, so they look clean and sanitized. So these are considerations, right? These are things for you as an exhibitor. In general, the strategy would be design your visitor health and safety protocols with your most concerned customer in mind. It's always better to err on being a little overcautious than undercautious, especially when we're dealing with people's health and safety, right? Hey, and by the way, if there's any suggestions that any of you have that you've been doing, feel free to chime in and kind of share those with me. I would be happy to share those with the group. So anything you're doing. All right. Let me run my second poll here of the day, because we promoted this not only to our contracted exhibitors, but our entire exhibitor universe. And I'd like to, and this will help me as we go forward too. Is your company, as of right now, are you currently contracted for the 2022 Midwinter meeting? Yes, maybe you're still considering, right? I might not, or maybe you're not really planning to at this point. Maybe maybe you're thinking it's better to kind of set it out. Fastest fingers, I'll give you just a moment to do. Again, I'm looking for 80%. We're at 75%. You guys and gals are awesome. I appreciate your participation. I'll give you the countdown to push us over the 80% on 3, on 2, on 1. 79%, that feels close enough to me. So it looks like 92% of you are in. 82% of you are still considering. So I hope what we're sharing with those of you still considering with health and safety, I'm going to get into, planning for ROI, cost justification, and really give you a lot of hitters on how to make sure you win the exhibiting game. And that'll give you the confidence to join us in this grand reopening of the live event. Okay, travel restrictions. I apologize. I've got one more little poll. I don't know what's happening. Some companies still are, but are you under a travel restriction at this point in time? Yes or no? And I'm asking this for a very specific reason, which I'll show you in a moment. You are a super engaged group. Thank you so much. We're already at 70% of you have polled. I'll give you just another moment here. If you haven't clicked the radio dial button, go ahead and do so. 77%, we are super close. One or two more people, 79, that's good enough for me. So it's 13% of you are. 87% of you are not. So I'm gonna go through this fairly quickly. For those of you who are, you may want to consider requesting a travel restriction exception if it feels appropriate to you. Now, let me talk about this for a moment. It may or may not be flexible. What I've found is the larger the company, and especially if you're a US subsidiary of an international company, this is where it can get a little more, it's kind of like, this is black and white, there's no wiggle room here. This is how it is. It may or may not be flexible, but my thought is that if you believe that it's really in your company's best interest to be at the CDS Midwinter meeting, then it doesn't hurt to ask, right? It really doesn't hurt to ask. But when you ask, right, there are 3 things that you're going to want to address in your request. You're requesting a travel restriction exception. So number 1 is health and safety. You would talk about what CDS is doing, what McCormick Place is doing, what the current situations are in the city of Chicago. You would talk about what you're going to do with your staff and in your exhibit. In the second area, traveling. This is quite interesting. Look on the screen here. The Department of Defense did a study. I believe they spent around $80 million on this study back in October of 2020. And they were trying to determine, is it safe to travel on airplanes? And they published it on Military News, and they flat out said it's almost impossible to get it on an airplane. And when you look below the TSA checkpoint numbers, check out these numbers. Look, on October 10th, over 2 million. On October 11th, over 2 million people. We're not that far away from where we were in 2019. So every day, look, 1.6 million, 1.7 million. This is the type of third-party data when you're going to make this request that you can use, right? Because maybe your boss doesn't know this stuff, right? So second would be a solid business reason. If your business has been economically impacted by the pandemic, you need to get back in front of dental professionals, right? You need leads, you need sales. What are your company's goals for 2022 in the area of marketing, in the area of sales, in the area of customer relationship management? What are your company's goals, and how do you see exhibiting at the CDS Midwinter meeting supporting your business goals? And then an economic reason, the money reason, which I'll show you in a moment here on how to do. So let me move on. But for those of you who are under a travel restriction, maybe this has given you some ideas, a roadmap, a blueprint on how to ask and request an exception. And again, if it feels appropriate, consider your company culture, consider all those things. But, I'm a big believer, as it says in the scripture, ask and it will be given unto you, right? And it never hurts to ask, okay? All right, so let's step away from health and safety and travel and all that stuff, and let's have a conversation now about this started in March of 2020. So we are, how many months? 21 months into this? 22 months into this? So what a clunker this has been, huh? What a sour lemon, right? For all of us, right? But the question is it possible that there was a hidden benefit in all of this, right? And so one of the books that I was blessed to read as a 20-year-old, which literally changed the trajectory of my life, literally, was this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I learned so many important life lessons that I didn't learn in school and didn't learn from my family in this book that has put me on this arc that I honestly would have never seen coming. And one of the big lessons of the many things I learned was that every adversity, and if this pandemic has been anything, and still is, this is high adversity, right? Carries with it the seed of an equal or a greater benefit. So you might be wondering, okay, come on, Jefferson, where's the seed of the benefit? Well, here's what it is. There are a lot of dental shows every year, right? All over the country. And maybe, in 2019 and early 2020, you were so busy running from show to show to show and doing the same thing over and over and kind of hoping that things would get better. But now live shows were taken away from us for a year and a half in most cases, right? So the question I would ask is, have you taken advantage of this downtime, this hopefully once in a career opportunity to stand back and look at your entire exhibit program through the eyes of the casual observer and look at what you do and look at how you do it and look at why you do it and look at what sort of results it's delivering and identify those areas where you can make adjustments so that when you do re-enter live exhibiting, you're not just coming back same as it ever was, you're coming back better than before. That's what I've been challenging every one of my exhibiting clients to do. You may never have this opportunity again where you've been on the shelf for such a long period, right? To make these adjustments, right? That's what, to me, that's the great opportunity with regard to exhibiting the lemonade that we can squeeze out of this sour lemon called the pandemic. So let's talk about it. When an exhibit program is firing on all cylinders, when it is properly executed, when it's working, there are two important outcomes that the program is delivering. And these are the two outcomes, by the way, that senior management wants your exhibit program to deliver. Number one, they want to know that every dollar and every hour that you invest is supporting your company's core business objectives. And number two, they want to know that the time and the money that you're investing in trade shows is delivering value beyond cost. So if your CEO were to walk into you in January of 2020 and they were to ask, hey, John, can you tell me and show and prove to me how our trade show program is supporting our company's core business objectives? On a 1 to 10 scale, a 10 is terrific, a 1 is terrible. How would you answer that question? And let's go to the other side in green. If your CFO walked in and said, hey, John, in 2019, you spent $200,000 of company capital on trade shows. Can you show, tell, and prove to me where we got value beyond cost? On a 1 to 10, a 10 terrific, a 1 terrible, how would you answer? I want you to go to your question queue right now, and I want you to, in your mind, quickly think about that, and I want you to type your number, like 4 and 7, or 5 and 4, whatever it is. Go ahead and type your numbers, because this is what your exhibit program should be doing. If you're executing at a high level, you should be delivering these two outcomes for your company. And the more of your job that is tied up in managing the company's exhibit program, the more you better be delivering on these results. So what I'm asking you is to do a quick self-assessment and ask yourself, right? 1 to 10, because I never want the day for any of you on this webinar to have your boss walk in and ask you one or both of these questions and you not be able to answer, right? So those are the two high-level outcomes. The question is, prior to the pandemic, how well was your exhibit program delivering on these values? Okay. So let's talk, grab your pen, grab a calculator. I'm going to run you through an exercise here, which is going to do many, many things for you. Number one, I'm going to help alleviate your fear and anxiety about potentially reduced attendance. Number two, I'm going to show you how to quickly cost justify your exhibiting investment. And number three, I'm going to give you a formula all in one process here on how to set a return on investment target. So this is a critical exercise. Grab your pen, grab a calculator. Okay, so let's start with revenue. If your company has lost revenue due to the pandemic, what is it that you need? What does your business need most right now? I think I know what you need, right? You need contacts, you need leads, you need proposals, you need sales, you need checks in the bank. Question, how important is face-to-face contact in helping you get that, right? The magic power of trade shows is the power of face. Trade shows are really about face, right? It's important in acquiring customers. It's important in keeping customers. It's important in growing customers. And it's hard to get, especially in the dental profession. I just went and had a cleaning done this week. And you know what? They still have the phone number. They text me, wait outside. When I came in, they took temperature. I had to sanitize my hands. It's hard to get into a dental clinic right now, you know, if you're not a patient. Even as a patient, it was hard for me to get in, right? So it's harder. And here's the question I would ask you is, how does not exhibiting help you get it, right? So here's what we're going to go through, the formula, right? We're going to go over the budgeting rule of thumb. You're going to calculate your exhibit interaction capacity so you know how much traffic you need to win the game. You're going to calculate your CPI, cost per interaction, so you can show your boss, owner, partner the value of exhibiting. We're going to try to figure out how do you get a return on your investment. So here we go. I'm going to use the example of a small booth. You are a 10 by 10 exhibitor. You're budgeting floor space cost times 3, which is the minimum to budget for a show. Ideally, floor space times 4 or even 5, but I'm going to use 3 to be conservative. So my total show budget for the CDS Midwinter meeting is $12,900. What is yours? Write it down. Now, grab your pen, because here we go. The CDS Midwinter meeting will have 23 exhibiting hours. I want you to win the game from your booth. Anything that happens in the morning, the golden hours, anything that happens in the evening, the entertaining hours, is the icing on the cake. I want you to win from the area of your biggest spend, which is your exhibit. You have 23 hours, okay? How many staff, booth staff, how many people, your people, are you going to have standing in your booth on average over those 23 hours? Remember the staffing rule of thumb, 50 square feet per staffer. So I'm in a 10 by 10 booth. I'm going to have 2 staff. Write your staffing number down right now. Next, listen very carefully to this. I want you to set a clear target number of interactions per hour per staffer. An interaction means that one of your booth staff talks to a dental professional. So 3 in an hour, that's conservative. 4, moderate. 5, maybe aggressive, maybe slightly aggressive. I want you to pick a target number, 3, 4, or 5, and I want you to write it down right now. And I want you to multiply these 3 numbers together. And this is, I'm going to argue, this is the single most important number that you will ever understand about exhibiting. You see, I don't care if the CDS Midwinter meeting has 5,000 attendees, 15,000 or 30,000. I really don't care. And you may say, come on, Jefferson, why wouldn't you care? Well, this is the reality. I only have the capacity in this example to interact with 138 dental professionals, right? That's reality, right? You go, well, there's 10,000. You can't handle 10,000. There's no exhibitor on this webinar that can handle 5,000. Right? There's no exhibitor on here that can handle 10,000. So we've all been taught when we analyze a show and we look at attendance, you know, boy, you know, the show attendance is off by 20%. Well, there are still 17,000 dental professionals, right? So the most important number you need to be worried about is what is your exhibit interaction capacity. Now, I want you to go to your question tab right now and type in your number. I want to make sure that you understand what we just did, because I can predict your return on investment within 5 percentage points from this number. You see, because some percentage of these interactions are going to turn to a lead, and some percentage of these interactions are going to convert to a sale. At the show, maybe during the brews and bargains window, maybe after the show, right? So what is your number? Let me see if you are submitting your numbers. Maria, thank you, 920. You are, so the big idea here is I want you to understand your number. I want you to laser focus on it. And the second thing I'm going to ask, once you know your number, what are you going to do between now and when you arrive at McCormick Place in February to be in the mind and on the agenda? In Maria's example, of 920 of the right dental professionals. This is called winning the game before kickoff. I don't worry about 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. Those are, I can't handle them, right? It's to me, this is the other question I would ask. Who are the best 138, or in Maria's example, 920? Who are the best 920 people, Maria, that if you and your staff could get FaceTime with them, would make the CDS Midwinter meeting your best meeting ever, right? I don't want anybody at my booth. I want the right people at my booth. Okay, now, for those of you who polled cost justification ROI, this next part is for you. I want you to divide the total number of interactions you just ran into your total show budget, right? And by the way, your total show budget includes everything: floor space, exhibit, freight, show services, travel, entertainment, promoting, marketing your exhibit, staff prep training, lead capture. That includes everything, your total show budget. So check this out. So when I divide my 138 interactions into my $12,900 spend, look what I've got. Look what I can show my boss. Look what I can use for my own self to feel confident. My cost per interaction is $93, right? Now look to the right of that. You'll see that the average cost of a field sales call is $598 on the low end to $1,114 average. So here's the question I have for all of you on this webinar. Look at your CPI, compare it to the average, and what are you doing for your company? You're cutting the cost of putting what? Your identity, your products, your staff, face-to-face with a dental professional. By how much? In this example, massively. You're actually saving your company money because there is a cost to generate a face-to-face interaction in the field. Okay, now let's talk return on investment for the final piece of the puzzle. Okay, so what you have to try to determine and talk to your accounting department or your sales management department. If you have a one-time sale, one and done, then use your average sale amount. How do you get to your average sale amount? Take your total revenue and divide it by the number of transactions over the course of a year. That will give you your average sale amount. The other one, if you have a repeat sale, you have a consumable, they buy and they order monthly, quarterly, annually, and they order for 1, 3, 5 years. If you can get a handle on what the lifetime value of a customer is for you, you can use that. So you can use either. In my example, I'm going to say I have a one-time sale. I sell a software system. It's not software as a service. It's they load it on a computer. They pay me one time. I collect my $5,000 and I'm done. So how do I get a return on my investment? It's easy. I divide my average sale amount or my value of a customer into my total exhibiting investment, and I need 2.6 sales to get a return on investment. I only need to convert 1.8% of the people I interact with. That is an extremely low conversion rate, right? So what are the odds, right? If you put your people and your products in front of that many, that over time, you can pull out 2.6 customers or sales. This is inside the numbers. This is how you plan for productivity. This is how you cost justify. And this is how you set a top line revenue return on investment goal. And if you change any of the numbers, the bottom number changes, right? So I've just given you one of the most powerful. Hey, by the way, I've generated over $800 million in combined results. This is the exact formula that I've used for over, now I'm pushing 30 years, $800 million in results. I worked with a company sold to intraoral cameras. We were selling 1.2, 1.5 million, signing orders on the show floor at the CDS Midwinter meeting using the same formula. So some people don't participate. When I ask, run your number, they go, oh, I'm not going to do this. Well, then don't do it, okay? Then exhibit by hope. Then just show up and make an expensive appearance, right? That's not what we're talking about. All right, let's talk about if attendance is down. I can tell you, now this is not CDS Midwinter meeting projections or specific, but I can tell you right now, where we're at in the pandemic from June through September, that the average shows overall attendance is off by 30 to 40%. And a lot of that is from the international marketplace. So I already showed you how you don't have to worry about attendance being down a little bit, right? Why? Because you know what your exhibit interaction capacity is. But here's some things that you can do. Number one, know how much capacity you have. Number two, increase your pre-marketing activity. Get this spoken for before you get to. I'm telling you, if you have the capacity for 138 interactions and you can show up with 138 people that said, yes, I'm coming to CDS Midwinter meeting and I'm absolutely coming to your booth. I'm telling you, you've won the game before kickoff, but you got to pre-market. If there was ever a time to start investing in a targeted pre-show marketing, this is the time. Do you know that 80% of exhibitors do little or no pre-marketing? They essentially do what I call exhibit by hope. Number three, start with your customers. Hey, maybe you haven't seen your customers face to face for a year and a half. Probe for additional opportunities within the account. Cross-sell, upsell, advocacy, pair them up with a prospect. Get customer testimonial. Do video interviews on your phone, right? Ask them 3 questions. Why do you do business with us? What would you tell other people as a good reason to do business with us? What a great time, right? How about prospects that are in your sales pipeline? You want to know where the low-hanging fruit is? You want to get a 5, 10, 20x ROI? Use the trade show to move your prospects forward. Think beyond the booth. Look at the schedule of events. Where are the social and the networking events? Be there. Educational events. Are there scientific sessions, general sessions? Are there sessions that make sense? People talking about topics that you would learn about. People talking about topics that prospective customers would be going to. Be where the attendees are. I want you to win it from your booth, but take advantage of the entire show experience. Competitive analysis. What a great time to do a little bit of recon on your top 3 competitors. How big's their booth? What products are they featuring? What sort of messaging are they promoting in their booth? Where are they advertising? What are they sponsoring? How are they promoting? What a great time, right? You're a manufacturer. You sell through dealers, distributors. How about training, right? Conducting training around the venue. Maybe using some of your booth time to train. If you sell through a dealer or distributor and you want to build preference where they pitch your product instead of your competitors, let's take advantage of this opportunity, right? Look at all the value you can get from this. Okay. Next, the exhibit marketing process. Okay. Now, remember I asked you earlier, I said, how well was your exhibit program visibly supporting your core business objectives? And is it delivering measurable value beyond cost? This process is a proven effective systemic framework that outlines the strategic factors that you as an exhibitor, if you want to win at trade shows and win big, this is the process. And notice I've organized it by pre-event, during, and post. And notice it is in linear order. It goes from left to right. It starts by selecting the right event. Hey, if you market to the dental professionals, you are in the right event, no question. Then alignment, reasons to goals, design the visitor experience, attract enough of the right people, engage visitors, impress them, blow them away, find the problem to solve, find the opportunity, right? Capture information-rich leads or orders if you're writing business at the show. Follow through, follow up, and measure. So here's the promise. If you address all 8 areas, you win. You'll win. Not only will you win at CDS, you'll win at every show you do. Here's the warning. If you neglect, avoid, you're going to struggle. So the question is, which of these 8 areas, as you look back and look forward, has most limited your performance and your results? These are your limiting factors. For you to win, I want you to use these next, November, December, January, and the early part of February. You got 4 months here. I want you to plug the gaps, fill the holes, keep learning, right? And again, we're going to point you to the Exhibitor ROI Center for a deeper dive on every one of these areas. I'm telling you, this is the blueprint. Question is, are you following it? Are you going to use it? Okay, so I have a little slide build hiccup here, but let me share with you. Honestly, I almost left the industry because, living in the trade show space, having them shut down. I did some work in virtual, which was a get through type thing. And I asked myself in September of last year, I said, if I were going to leave today, what are the 15 most important things that I've learned in my 30 years in the $800 million in results I've been helped create? Top of the list, number 1, Everybody has reasons why they exhibit. Brand awareness, lead generation, thought leadership, introduce a new product, sales. But reasons are not enough. Reasons are not enough. Number two, you got to have goals. Get some leads is not a goal. Capture 45 qualified leads by closing time. That's a goal, right? And your goal needs to be backed up with a written action plan. How are we going to do that? And your goals should address the big three value areas. There should be a clear marketing goal. There should be a clear sales goal, maybe at and post show. And there should be a customer relationship management goal. How many of your customers are attending? How many are you going to meet with? What are your objectives for these meetings? If you have one clearly defined goal with a written action plan in these three areas, you have moved yourself into the top 20% of exhibitors in every show you do. Number three, when it comes to your money, keep strict accounts. Have a budget, know where the dollar goes, compare to the averages, and we have a great tool on the Success and ROI Center, which I'll point you to in a moment. Number four, not only is clarity power about your goals and your outcomes, but who is your target visitor? You have a limited amount of capacity, right? Who are the most important people that if you only saw these people at the show, it'd make it all worthwhile? Number five, some of you have a lot of products, a lot of services, and you try to jam too much stuff in your booth. Less is more. When you look at the various solutions that you're going to be presenting at the show, lead with new, follow up with trending, hot bestsellers, and fill it in with your bread and butter products. New, trending, hot bestsellers, bread and butter products. Leave everything else at home. You can cross-sell anything once you have the engagement. But if you try to be everything to everybody, you'll end up being nothing to nobody. Less is more at a trade show. Number six, people, especially dental professionals, they don't come to trade shows to get sold. They do come to learn. They do come to solve, practice, patient care, practice management problems. They do come to learn about opportunities to help them do things better, faster, cheaper, safer, greener, cleaner, right? So remember this, they're not coming to be sold, but they are coming to learn and they are coming to solve problems. So spend a little less emphasis on the physical product and think more about the problems, opportunities, and what you can teach them. They'll come running to your booth. And how do they want to engage? Through interactive presentations and demonstrations. They want to do more in your booth than they can do on your website. Number eight, every single marketer today, everybody selling any product or service has to know and be able to answer the two big questions that are in your potential customers' minds. Number one, why at all? Why should I be interested in what you sell at all? Why should I be interested in visiting your booth? And why you? What makes your product, your service, your company, your people different and better? What makes your exhibit, the visitor experience better than the hundreds of other booths I could be at? So you have to have your value proposition and you have to have your unique selling proposition. And if you don't have both of these clearly written, clearly defined, this will be one of the most important takeaways from this webinar that you can go to work on. Number nine, I talked about this earlier. You know, the number one concern among this group was reduced attendance. Well, win the game before kickoff, right? How? With a highly targeted and a well-designed pre-show marketing campaign. Write this phrase down. In the mind, on the agenda of enough of the right people. In the mind, on the agenda, enough of the right people. I'm telling you, that's winning the game before kickoff. Number 10, do not let your exhibit get lost in the crowd. You know, we all think that just because we set up our booth that everybody that passes it looks at it. and that everybody who looks at it understands what we do. They don't, and they don't see every booth. We've been doing our E3 exhibit effectiveness evaluations over the years. We've done show-wide E3s. Many of you have E3 reports. We showed you what was working in your booth and what wasn't. Make sure it grabs attention. Make sure it visually and quickly communicates what you do, why they should care, and who you are. Make it easy to enter, make it easy to find what they're looking for, make it interactive and immersive, and make it easy to exit. Don't let your exhibit get lost in the crowd. We've done 36,500 exhibit evaluations. A lot of exhibits get lost in the crowd. Number 11, the environment is different. The way you interact with a dental professional in your booth on a show floor is very different than what you do out in the field and at their clinic or practice. And it's challenging, right? Time, fatigue, information overload, high competitive presence. It's a challenging environment. So your people are going to make or break your success. You got to train them, right? You have 3 to 7 minutes is the average interaction. People are going to make judgments about your company, your product services, based on their interactions with your people. Best people forward, trained, who understand how the environment is different and have the attitudes, skills, and the knowledge to be able to be effective in the trade show environment. Number 13, if you're not writing orders at the event and you ever want return on investment, the real product is leads. Number 14, what gets measured gets done and also gets improved. In fact, it's very difficult to improve what you're not measuring. And number 15, you should walk off the CDS Midwinter meeting show floor every year with 3 takeaways, 3 things you've learned that are going to make you better at your next event. That upward spiral, continue learning, continue growing. Key phrase, write this down. It's what you learn after you know it all that matters, that makes the difference. It's what you learn after you know it all. So those lessons, those takeaways, how are we going to do this better next time? Not just going to do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different result. Okay, so which of these lessons do you feel can help you? Okay, so let me close this out and get to Q&A. I've run a few minutes over. I apologize. I knew I jammed a lot of content on here. I always do. I want you to have everything you need to win the game. And what you're seeing on the screen right now is where you go after this webinar. So today is a beginning. It's not an end, right? This is not an event. This is a journey, right? The CDS Exhibitor ROI Center. There is over $10,000 of content proven effective. Look, downloadable tools, planning tool, cost control tool, exhibit staff evaluation tool, measurement tool. Download those 4 tools. If you haven't downloaded them yet, I'm telling you, go get them right when you get off this webinar. Next, grab these 5 planning exercises. Notice I have timelines as to when you should be executing these. Download these, put them on your calendar, gather your team and do them. Watch the webinars. We have webinars on every topic we've talked about. Read the articles, ask the questions. Visit this often, bookmark it, and share it with your team. This in and of itself, right, it makes the whole CDS Midwinter meeting different and worthwhile, right? There's no other dental meeting that I know of that has this depth of exhibitor support. And by the way, this program won the Trade Show Executive Gold 100 Award for the best program to help exhibitors maximize ROI. So were you aware of this content? Are you using this content? It's all free, right? You know, it's like, it doesn't get any easier than free. And for those of you who have exhibited over the last few years, and we've done show-wide E3s, we've done new exhibitors, we've done segments. I'm going to first ask you to look in your files for your E3 exhibiting evaluation report. And if you can't find it, just drop me an email and let me know what the last year was you exhibited at CDS, because we still have your reports on file and I can send you those. Okay, so I've covered a lot. You can see I'm pretty intense about this. I love trade shows. My heart was broken when they closed down. I'm so excited that we're getting back to this. I believe in my heart of hearts, trade shows are your most effective marketing, sales, and customer management media if you see them and if you do them properly. And they don't teach this stuff in school. That's why we're doing it. So for those of you that have need to log off right now, please watch for the survey. I'm going to take a look in the question queue. Lisa, I've covered a lot here. Is there anything that you'd like to add that I maybe rushed through too fast or glossed over?
Well, I just want to let the exhibitors know that the service kit for the 22 Midwinter meeting has been posted to our website. Registration for attendees will begin Monday, November 1st at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I want all the exhibitors to know that, again, CDS will be providing one complimentary lead retrieval license to each exhibitor who opts into that program so they can scan badges and get quality leads while they're at the show. So those three things are important. Additional things that you should know, we will be providing stickers to each of the attendees, which they can apply to their badge to denote their level of comfort in closeness, handshakes, no handshakes, fist bumps, that type of thing. So you could look to the badge to see that attendee's personal preference and contact. And then, of course, this year we are opening our information to so that exhibitors may register for lectures and scientific programs if they so choose. And I'm being told that I was mistaken. They're not doing the sticker, so I apologize for that. So again, take Jefferson's advice about body language.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Let me take a look at the questions here. We've got a few. Lisa, I just assigned you one question that felt like it's more of a one-to-one, and it looks like they may still be online. Take a look at your console. So the first question beyond that one would be in my wheelhouse. Should we consider using scanning devices to record and send samples and literature instead of handing stuff out? William, that's a great question, and I think the magic is in the mixed. When you're talking about samples, I would have some, but I would distribute those only to people who absolutely want to take a sample with them right now. The beauty of using your lead capture device, which typically you can customize the qualifiers and maybe even be able to electronically send your literature right from the device. Take a look at that. QR codes are hot too. So the ability, to set up a QR code near your products on display, the attendee can scan it with their badge and it'll instantly deliver a PDF to them. What I would do on like if I was going to do a QR code is I would at minimum ask for the first, last name, practice name, and email address. That way you at least know who's capturing your data. So William, I think the mix is with literature. I would have some printed literature for those who absolutely want it now, but I wouldn't have it out on a table for hit and run behavior. I would lean first toward my lead capture device to see if I have the ability to capture and electronically send literature through my device. If that's not the case, then I would go with QR codes. But again, if you're going to use a QR code, I would put a form between the document so you capture the first, last, and minimum email address of the person who scanned the QR code. Next question comes from Maria. Maria said, I understand you're looking to be safe, but trying to avoid crowds seems counterintuitive. I'm not saying don't have any crowds. I'm saying don't be overcrowded, right? Certainly the goal of the show is to make new connections. And by using the exhibit interaction capacity formula to determine your booth traffic, and by the way, if you have a mini theater in your booth, you would look at the number of seats or what the capacity is, and you could add that into the formula. But so I'm not saying that to eliminate crowds, I'm saying avoid, at least for this year, as of right now. Hey, by the grace of God, maybe this thing is winding down and we're not even talking about this in February. I know everybody, myself included, wishes that would be happening. So who knows? But my point is just avoid the overcrowded booth. That's the thing that could turn people away. Let's see. Next comment. I'm guessing you will send a recording. Yes, this session was recorded and will be uploaded to the CDS Exhibitor ROI Center, which is your 24/7, 365 trade show productivity resource. So I hope you'll use everything on here. So with that, that's all I'm seeing for questions. I want to thank everybody for logging in. I want to thank you for participating in the polls. I want to motivate, inspire, and push you to use these next 3.5 months to re-enter the live exhibiting arena better than before the pandemic. And if you'll use what we've talked about here today, you have the resources to do it. So with that, Lisa, closing thoughts from CDS.
I just want to thank everybody again. Thank you to those who participated virtually with us this past February for jumping off the cliff with us. We are all looking forward to in-person shows, and I hope to see you all in February.
All right, stay safe, and let's do this. Return to live, and let's do it better than before. Let's put on a show in February that has the entire dental industry talking about this is how you do a show. Thrilled to be part of this. Have a great day. If you have any questions, you can reach me. If you want your E3 report, I do ask you to look first in your files, see if you have it, so I don't get hit with the hundreds of requests. But if you can't find it, email me at jefferson@tradeshowturnaround.com. If you have productivity questions, you can reach me through the ROI Center, Ask the Trade Show Expert. This concludes our webinar, Thrive Live, How to Re-Enter Better Than Before. See you again soon. Thanks for your time.